The Islanders have made their first cuts of the preseason. We have all that information for you, plus who practiced with who on Thursday as the new groups got together. Plus, we have a look ahead at the NHL salary cap and answer more of your emails, all that and much more on today's Locked On Islanders podcast.
Your Locked On Islanders, your daily podcast on the New York Islanders. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome, everybody, to the weekend edition of the Locked On Islanders podcast. Gil Martin, so glad you could be with us today and be part of the Locked On Islanders family. I want to thank everyone for making Locked On Islanders your first listen every day. We are free and available on all platforms. Today's episode is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline has you covered this season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline, where the game starts. We have got a lot to discuss on today's show. The first cuts of the preseason have been made, and we've got it all for you here. But if there's something else Islanders related on your mind, if you have a question, a comment, maybe a topic you'd like us to talk about on a future show, feel free to email us. The email address lockedonislanders@gmail.com. You could also follow the show on Twitter at Locked On Isles, and you could follow me, Gil Martin, on Twitter at Ice Wars, NYRVSNYI. We'll keep you up to date on all the latest Islanders news, notes, and happenings, from trade rumors, training camp cut downs, preseason action, you name it. If it's happening to your New York Islanders, we will have it here on Locked On Islanders. And remember, we have a new live show every day, Monday through Friday. So make sure you join us for that. We're on YouTube and wherever you get podcasts. So yes, the Islanders Thursday making the first cuts of the preseason, and 15 players assigned to the Bridgeport Islanders training camp, and then one player returned to his junior team. So let's talk about that. The Bridgeport Islanders training camp got goalie Henrik Tikkanen, forwards Colin Adams, Eric Brown, Blade Jenkins, Jeff Kubiak, Dalen Kufler, Jimmy Lambert, Kyle McLaren, Matthew Maggio, Reese Newkirk, Chris Terry. Those are all forwards who are heading to Bridgeport's camp. And then defensemen Trevor Cosgrove, Ryan McKinnon, Connor McCarthy, and Vincent Sevigny, also Bridgeport bound. Now, goaltender Tristan Lennox has been returned to the Saginaw Spirit of the OHL. That's his junior team. So we have that move to report as well. So 16 players who were with the Islanders in training camp already headed either to the minor league training camp or, in one case, to their junior team. So now, with those players gone, the Islanders, after taking Wednesday off, resumed practice on Thursday. A little bit of good news. Let's start with that. For the first time, Thursday, the Islanders actually practiced special teams. Lane Lambert getting his players out there to practice power play, penalty kill. Quite honestly, I think that's overdue. Why they waited this long, I'm sure there was a reason, but it's a little confusing to me. And as for the cuts, I can't say there is one surprise among them. You kind of expected those players to be among the first players to go. None of them were expected to make the Islanders' actual roster to start the season. And, you know, it just made sense. You see what they could do, you give them a taste, and then you assign them to the AHL camp. Meanwhile, the Islanders, instead of breaking into three groups as they did before the latest cuts, they broke into two groups. And here are the groups as they existed. Group one, the forwards were Cole Bardreau, Matthew Barzal, Anthony Beauvillier, Hudson Fasching, Simon Holmstrom, Ruslan Iskov, Ross Johnston, Anders Lee, Brock Nelson, Otto Koivula, who was back skating for the first time in training camp this year. He had an undisclosed injury, so it was good to get Koivula back on the ice. Kyle Palmieri and Zach Parise. Yes, the order is alphabetical, so it doesn't mean anything more than that. The defensemen in Group 1, Noah Dobson, Seth Helgeson, Paul Ledoux, Adam Pelech, Ryan Pulak, Alexander Romanov. The telling thing about those defensive groups, you got guys who are expected to be paired together in that group. Pelech and Pulak expected to be your top defense pairing. Romanov and Dobson, your second defense pairing. So there's logic there, and it gives you an idea of how they're thinking as far as who's going to be paired with who. The two goalies in Group 1, Corey Schneider and Semyon Varlamov. Again, we stick with the alphabetical lists here. Group 2, the forwards, Andy Andreoff, Josh Bailey, Kiefer Bellows, Casey Cizikas, Cal Clutterbuck, William Dufour, Arno Durando, Matt Martin, J.G. Pajot, Atu Ratu, Nikita Sashnikov, and Oliver Wahlstrom. And then on defense, Dennis Chalowski, Grant Hutton, Scotty Mayfield, Robin Salo, Parker Wotherspoon, with Jakub Skarek and Ilya Sorokin being the goaltenders. Again, defense-wise, the two leaders for the sixth spot at this point are Chalowski and Salo, with Salo being in the lead. By the way, Sebastian Aho, unavailable. He's going to be evaluated, and there'll be an update on his status sometime Friday today. So we are waiting to hear about that. So most likely Aho would have been part of Group 2, but he did not skate yesterday because of an unknown, probably injury. Could be something else, but we'll let you know as soon as we know. So Mayfield, anyone who's going to try to be on that third pair as the sixth defenseman. And I guess Wotherspoon played well. Salo was the leader in that. Chalowski, Aho would have been in that group. Grant Hutton, that's in the Group 2 defensemen. You also see all three members of the identity line here. Cizikas, Martin, Clutterbuck, all right there in Group 2. And, again, good to see guys like Bellows and Wahlstrom and Ratu and Dufour out there together as well. So that's where we're at training camp as the Islanders make their first cuts. We gave you an injury update as well. So good to see that. We've got more to get to on today's show, including an important update on the future of the NHL salary cap. Plus, we answer more of your emails, all that and more still to come on today's Locked On Islanders podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by your friends at BetOnline. BetOnline.net is your number one source for football betting info this season. You can find all the latest player developments, team matchups, news, podcasts, and in-depth articles and analysis on every game you could find. And as always, BetOnline remains your continued source for all your sports wagering information, with live betting and up-to-the-minute scores for every sport out there. It's the fastest and easiest way to check in on all your favorite games and events, including MLB, MMA, boxing, and golf. And of course, preseason NHL, NHL futures, all available right now. Head to betonline.net or use your mobile device to learn more. Bet Online, where the game starts. So let's talk a little bit about the NHL salary cap. A report coming out on Sportsnet up in Canada, Elliot Friedman, Rory Boylan, saying that the NHL salary cap could go up by as much as $10 million by the 2025-2026 season. And that, my friends, is great news for the New York Islanders. a team that has been in a little bit of a squeeze on the salary cap. In fact, I would say about 20, 21 of the 32 teams in the league are up against the cap. Obviously, COVID having an effect. But look, the good news is the cap, according to this report by Sportsnet, will go up another $1 million next year, $4 to $4.5 million in 2024, 2025, and maybe another $4.5 million by 2025, 2026, which would leave it at $92 million. Why is this big? Well, let's start with the obvious. Matthew Barzal is up for an extension. This is the last year of his contract. If the Islanders have a little more cap room to add Matthew Barzal at, let's say, 9.5, 10 million a year for 7 or 8 years, this added cap, and believe me, after 2025, 2026, it'll probably go up even more. But having that extra cap space is only going to benefit both the Islanders and teams around the NHL. You want to talk about the possibility of the Islanders adding a sniper. I would love to see it. But again, you need money to be able to do that. And having the extra cap space would certainly help the Islanders a lot to make trades, to make long-term moves, and to sign free agents. So good news all the way around that the cap is heading up, and hopefully the Islanders can use that extra cap space that is projected. Remember, it's not official yet, but it's a good thing that'll help the Islanders and really all NHL teams in the future. Wanted to also talk a little bit about another email. Charlie did not say where he's from, but he basically adds this. I believe our goaltending is rock solid with Sorokin and a healthy Varley. The top 6 on defense, I also believe will be fine. I have tremendous faith in Salo and Romanov. It's time for Lou to pull the trigger on Timo Meier. The Sharks are in no man's land and must start a rebuild. I propose we trade Wahlstrom, Ratu, a 2023 number 1, and Bailey for Timo Meier. Speed and proven scoring must be added to this team. With Barzal, Meier, Beauvillier, and Holmstrom, at least we have enough speed in our lineup to be competitive. Well, Charlie, first of all, thank you for the email. Just to give you an idea, Timo Meier, almost 26. He'll turn 26 in about a week and a half. So 26 years old, should be entering the prime of his career, coming off a 35 goal, 76-point season a year ago, both career highs. Certainly an asset on the power play, had 12 power play goals a year ago, and would be a great addition. Plays right wing, so you could put Meier on a line with Matthew Barzal. The problem that I have, Charlie, with your proposal is the price. Ratu, a number 1 pick, Bailey, and Wahlstrom is a lot to give up, even for Timo Meier. It would also be, I believe, the 4th straight year that the Islanders would not have a first-round draft pick. And while you might be benefiting from that in the short run, over the long haul, you want to have those number 1 picks. Even a GM like Lou Lamoriello, who is known for having the ability to find good players in the 2nd, 3rd, 5th round of the draft, not having a number 1 pick that many years in a row is problematic. And 2, 3, 5 years down the line, it may catch up with this team. If they can pull a trigger and get Timo Meier, I think it would be a great thing for this team. Meier's proven commodity. He's got good size at 6 feet, 210. He's got speed, which obviously the Islanders need. He's not afraid to shoot. He had 326 shots on goal and 573 attempted shots. Both of those numbers career highs. He would be a great fit. He's younger. I would love to get him. I just think the price that you mentioned might be a little bit more than what the Islanders should part with. But you know what? You got to give up something to get something. And Timo Meier is certainly a player who would solve a lot of issues for the New York Islanders. So let's see what, if anything, Lou Lamoriello does. I think the Sharks might just trade Timo Meier. If you're the Islanders, you want to make sure you lock up Meier for, you're not going to just get him on a short-term deal. You want to get him long-term. But if you could bring him in here and he could be happy, boy, could I see Barzal and Meier being one heck of a 1-2 punch on the New York Islanders top line. And, you start figuring out the depth where you could get Lee and Brock Nelson on your second line, and then you fill in players here and there to supplement those two duos. Boy, oh boy, this could be big, and it's big for the power play. So I think the price you were willing to give up, Charlie, was a little bit more than I'm comfortable with. But you know what? It also may be what it takes if you want to acquire a star player like Timo Meier. And, if I'm the San Jose Sharks, I'm in no hurry to deal Meier, but I would love to continue my rebuild, and maybe what the Islanders put forth in your package would be something that the Sharks would be interested in. We'll see. But right now, I would like to think that Lou Lamoriello is not done adding to this team. And again, I think he will make a move by the trade deadline if the Islanders find themselves roughly in contention for a playoff spot. And it would be huge, to get Lane Lambert, that kind of a weapon this soon in his coaching career, would absolutely, positively be huge for the New York Islanders for a heck of a lot of reasons. So we'll see how this plays out, but thank you for the email, Charlie. I always appreciate it. Charlie also mentions that he's higher on William Dufour than any other prospect the Islanders have. I'll tell you something. I wouldn't mind that. I think Dufour has potential. The key for Dufour, getting that skating improved just a little bit, and maybe getting his shot off a little bit quicker than he has up until this point. But I like his potential as well, and we'll see how that plays out as well. We have got more to get to on today's show. We have got our Islanders birthday of the day, a former Providence College star who was with the Islanders in the early to mid 2000 teens. Let's see if you can guess who that is. We've got that and more, including some final thoughts about the Islanders' upcoming preseason game against the Flyers at UBS Arena. All that and more still to come on this episode of the Locked On Islanders podcast. Time now for our Islanders birthday of the day. And today is the 38th birthday of former Islanders winger Colin McDonald. McDonald, originally a second-round draft pick of the Edmonton Oilers back in 2003, spent 4 productive years at Providence College, made his NHL debut in 2009-2010, scoring his first NHL goal in just 2 games with the Oilers. He was then on to the Penguins for 5 games in 2011-2012 before joining the Islanders the following year. Spent 3 seasons with the Islanders, his most productive year, 2013-2014, 8 goals, 18 points in 70 games. Later played for the Flyers before finishing out his career in the minor leagues, was with the Bridgeport Sound Tigers in 2019-2020. That was his last pro stop. So he only played in 148 career NHL games, 20 goals, 46 points, 73 penalty minutes, also played in 11 playoff games, 8 of those with the Islanders, and he scored twice, had 3 points, all of those points also coming with the New York Islanders. He's a native of Wethersfield, Connecticut. So, from the tri-state area. And McDonald Never a flashy player, never a goal scorer at the NHL level, but always a reliable kind of a forward who really could, dig in the corners and get the job done and be sound defensively. A bottom six forward, but a productive one. A good two-way hockey player for the Islanders during his tenure with the team. We go back and look at one of Colin McDonald's better games as an Islander. We take you to the Wells Fargo Center on March 28th, 2013. Islanders visiting the Flyers. Evgeny Nabokov in goal for the Isles. Ilya Bryzgalov for the Flyers. And it was Philadelphia getting on the board first. Lubomir Visnovsky of the Islanders heads off for interference, and Scott Hartnell scores his third goal of the year for Philadelphia. Claude Giroux and Wayne Simmons with the assists at 4:14. Isles quickly down 1-0. Late in the period, Mike Knuble makes it 2-0 Philadelphia. Claude Giroux, the only assist, Knuble's third at 17:25. The second period, no goals until the last minute when John Tavares gets the Isles on the board. His 21st, Matt Molson and Mark Streit with the helpers at 19 minutes even. After 40 minutes, the Isles are down by 1 goal. In the third period, our Islanders' birthday of the day, Colin McDonald takes over. He gets his 5th of the year. Keith O'Coin and Michael Grabner with the assist at 10:04. That ties it at 2. Then McDonald strikes again 5.5 minutes later, his 6th. Matt Martin and Casey Cizikas with the assist at 15:37. Isles up by a 3-2 margin. But Franz Nielsen takes a delay of game penalty for a face-off violation. Islanders are shorthanded in the closing seconds of the game. And Scott Hartnell gets his 4th of the year, 2nd of the game. Wayne Simmons and Matt Reed with the assist at 19:30. We go to overtime. Islanders can't convert, neither can the Flyers, and we go to a shootout. In the second round of the shootout, Claude Giroux scores for Philadelphia, but Brad Boyes answers for the Islanders. And then the shootout continues until the 4th round when Nabokov stops Wayne Simmons and Josh Bailey beats Bryzgalov to get the game winner in the shootout. Isles edge the Flyers, a 4-3 road win. Nabokov with 33 saves to get the victory. Both teams with 36 shots on goal in this one. But for Colin McDonald, our Islanders' birthday of the day, 2 goals in this game. He was a +1. He had 5 penalty minutes and 4 shots on goal in 15 minutes and 43 seconds of ice time. He dropped the gloves with Scott Hartnell in the first period. The only thing that kept Colin McDonald from a Gordie Howe hat trick in this game was the lack of an assist. So again, happy 38th birthday to Colin McDonald. He is our Islanders' birthday of the day. Islanders heading back to the UBS Arena for their first home preseason game of the year, their third of what will be 6 preseason games. The Philadelphia Flyers are the visitors. It should be a good matchup between these two teams, division rivals, and the Flyers are in rebuilding mode. So with less players on the roster, I think we'll see more of the regulars and maybe a few of those players fighting for that 6th defense spot and for the final spots on the roster. I think we'll also get a better idea overall of some of the line combinations that Lane Lambert is considering for the upcoming season. And we will, of course, give you a full recap of that game and key takeaways from it, good, bad, and otherwise, on Monday's show. Thanks again for making Locked On Islanders your first listen every day. Now make your second listen Locked On NHL. Locked On experts give you a daily 30-minute podcast on all things NHL all year long. Stay up to date on everything in the hockey world. Locked On NHL, your daily 30-minute NHL podcast. That does it for this episode of the Locked On Islanders podcast. Can you believe this weekend starts October? That means we are less than 2 weeks away from the start of the NHL season, and I cannot wait. Have a great weekend, everybody. Stay safe, and of course, let's go Islanders.